The Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately, target the right buyers and close more deals, reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusable isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusable.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. Find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours.
When you partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
Big Iron Auctions, customer satisfaction is our #1 goal. As the 40-year leader in auctions for agriculture, real estate, livestock, construction, and transportation, we are here to serve you. Big Iron will handle everything from start to finish. From meeting with you, to prepping your equipment, writing the listings, and collecting buyer's payments, let us do the heavy lifting for you. We love our customers, and we treat them like family. There's a Big Iron sales rep in your area, so let's get together. To learn more, visit bigiron.com.
Iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. I have got John Wommack and Kyle O'Toole. John Wommack is with Fusable. He is the, what is it? The
Managing Guides Editor.
Managing Guide Editor. I was going to say Guides Managing Editor, but I knew that wasn't right, so I knew I'd come back at you. Come back at you with the right one. So you're the Managing Guides Editor for Iron Solutions, a part of division there of Fusable. And we got Kyle O'Toole, he is the Director of Used Equipment for C&B Operations. So guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Right on.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you guys could make it, John. I know we do this every month, so glad to have you back. Kyle, it's been a minute since we had a chance to talk, and the last time we talked, it was kind of I think it might have been using the Moving Iron Summit about this time last year, and things were just kicking off to this great, wonderful marketplace that we see today. So as you take a look at what's going on around you, Kyle, what are some of the things that are standing out to you right now as far as used equipment and market space or the marketplace goes?
It's definitely been a whirlwind over the last year or so, Casey. It seems like, the industry in general has been heavy on 1 and 2 year old machines, and dealers are constantly looking for, creative and maybe different outlets to try and manage their inventory down than they've been having to lean on for the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I went back before this podcast and I just wanted to go back and check and see where things were. And I used to use, combines and sprayers as a barometer where the overall marketplace was. And obviously, combines catch a spotlight because if there's anything that's micromanaged in this business, and I mean micromanaged is probably not even the right word to use, but it's use combine inventory, right? And if you look where combines are at and what they've done as far as the number of machines hit the marketplace and those kind of things, it's nowhere near the ebbs and flows and these huge swings in numbers of machinery that we saw coming in and out of COVID and those kind of things, strictly because it's been managed, right? I mean, everyone's like, I think day one when you're a used equipment guy is like, there's 2 things you have to worry about: combines and combine values, right? And those are 2 things you have to worry about. And I think that's been there. So I went back and took a look at basically row crop tractors, right? 175 horsepower and up horsepower tractors, and took a look at it where we're at. And when I pulled those up today, we are back actually above where we were in 2019, 20, basically pre-COVID. We're slightly above what pre-COVID tractors looked like, something like 18,500 or some odd tractors like that. About that same time coming out of 2019, before there was buy one, get one, everyone was buying, is one of the difference of than buy one, get one free. It was, I'll buy one and take 2 more at the highest price you can possibly give it to me at. And that's where we're seeing the market at. Now we're watching the same thing happen. I guess, Kyle, when you're looking at the overall tractor marketplace, more than a third of those tractors, maybe even 2/3 of those tractors, it feels like, are between 1 and 3 year old tractors. I guess walk me through some of the logic you have when you're looking at machines now. What are you doing different than you were doing, say, this time last year, or even, because you've been in this, almost 2 years now, this particular role.
Correct.
So you got a little bit of good times, but most of your 2 years of doing this has been in this downward cycle. So I guess as you're looking at stuff now compared to 2 years ago, what are some of the stuff you're doing different now than what you were doing back then?
Yeah, I mean, through, the obvious equipment shortages during COVID, the only bad decision you could make, or the only bad deal you could make, was no deal at all. And now I think we're just having to get a lot more strategic about where we own our equipment, and really diving into data, taking a very unemotional approach, and having access to good quality equipment trends, valuation trends has definitely been on the forefront, probably more than it has ever been in the past.
Yeah. The valuation trend thing, there's 2 sides to every coin, right? And in this marketplace, you see a strong demand. I think demand's there. It's just at the price point, right? There's a price point that there's a demand at. And I guess as you're looking through this, talk me through, hey, auction value is X, retail value is Y. At what point in time are you going to sit back and say, how are we moving forward with this? And I guess how much, in your opinion right now, as you take a look at this, is the overall auction marketplace really, how is that number influencing what you're doing, I guess, on the retail side?
Well, I think it definitely plays an influence. I mean, there's no doubt that I think most dealers in the country today are utilizing auctions as an outlet and part of their, used equipment sales portfolio. And I think good auction partners have been a resource for dealers for a lot of years. The challenge with it right now, though, is we're seeing such a widening gap in terms of just dealer asking price versus the auction value. So it has, kind of had us need to shift our strategy a little bit that way and really find a middle ground that we can continue to work with those types of partners, but also, maintain our sales velocity through our retail channels as well.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. So, John, let's talk a little bit about what you guys have going on over on the Fusable side with Iron Solutions. When you're looking at this, is the first time in a long time where you have the first time, I guess, you got a new guide out, and the first time that you've had Model 24 year model values in equipment going into quote unquote peak end of the year selling cycles when a lot of this stuff was coming in, right? So walk me through that thought process, and then talk to me a little bit about where's that demand signal coming from to get it in the book faster and sooner than what you've done in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is the first guide, the first fall guide ever that we have had the new year model. So this would be like the 2024s, since the guide's origination. Everyone always looked at our new year models coming out December 1st, which would have been our winter guide. In times past, we didn't put them in there because for the simple fact that we just couldn't. We could not get all of the data, MSRPs, options, specs, so on and so forth. We could not get that into our system fast enough in order to put those in the guide. Now, what has happened over the past probably 2 or 3 years is that we've reconfigured how we do all of that, how we do all of that work, how we input all of that data in. We're still doing it very similar to the way that we used to do it. However, our system is just completely upgraded, and we go after it a different way. But the overall work is somewhat similar, but we do go after it a different way, which has allowed us to actually do get that information into the guide. And get it into our database. We get it into our database now 6 months faster. So we've actually cut that in half. And in my opinion, we can do actually better than that. But we wanted to start with putting them in the fall guide. Where did that come from? That's direct feedback from our customers, people like Mr. Kyle O'Toole. Because, Casey, like you said, it is peak time of the season. We're starting. We just got out of our early order programs for a lot of different types of equipment. We're bringing in those trades, and it is important for dealers to have some sort of number to be able to evaluate those trades. We know that, we understand that, we hear our customer feedback. So that is the reason why we put these in the guide, a full 3 months ahead of schedule, and that will be the new standard from here on out. So having the new year model in the winter guide is that's over, that's done with. The fall guide is where they will be from now on. And with this fall guide, we just included about 970 new 2024 models. So whether that's a continuation of a model that was made in 2023 or was a brand new model in 2024, we have all of those. Roughly 1,500, a little over 1,500 new options, option descriptions, option prices, and about 1,600, I think it's like 1,630 something standard specifications. So they're all there. And we're looking forward to, getting as much feedback on those values as we possibly can. Like I said, this is our first go around with them. So always interested to hear the feedback on what those values look like. And so we can continue to be better.
Right on. So Kyle, talk to me a little bit about, from your perspective, what's that mean for your business as you look at this stuff?
Well, when you're trying to make data-driven decisions, your decisions are only as good as your data. And so when you have a gap like that we've maybe had this time of the year in the past, you tend to lean on different data sources or try and make some internal decisions. So to me, it's great as we're already thinking ahead into our business for 2025 to have, consistent model year breakdowns in almost all of our John Deere product categories to ensure that we've got the right stair-step approach for pricing by model year. That's important, and it's been great to have access to that.
Right on. So John, talk a little bit about, so new model year comes out. Obviously, you don't have a lot of sold data coming from, that kind of stuff. To walk me through the process of how you're getting that value.
So when we start with, we always start with MSRP of a machine. And it's not, as long as you understand the percentages, it's not very hard to get down to dealer cost.
Sure.
So whether that be MDP on the Deere side or, DNet or anything like that on the case of the New Holland side. So we get that down to cost, and then from there we start looking at, okay, so we're going to have, let's just take a combine for instance. We're going to have 180 set hours on that Class 8 combine that's going to be in the guide. When when a dealer is getting that trade back, how much can we suspect they percentage wise of cost they would be putting in that machine? Now there's a couple of different ways that we look at that percentage, I guess you could say. Number one, we look at the 2023 model or the model that's 1 year older to see what would actually fit. Because the splits and everything like that have to make sense, like Kyle was talking about the stair step approach. So those stairs have to make sense. You can't have a 24 model that's way up here at the ceiling and a 23 model that's way at the floor. That just doesn't work. It doesn't pass what I call the smell test. So what I did is that I started working those numbers out, working out to where I felt they made sense. And then I picked up the phone and started calling dealers. Hey, what do we think? What are we thinking here? What's your cost per set hour? What's your cost per engine hour? Where do you think these guys are going to be trading at? And we would just talk rough figures. Of course, every deal's different. But yeah, me and Kyle spent quite a bit of time on the phone, talking back and forth, trying to figure out. But Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the first conversation that we had when we were talking back and forth on, what percentage of MVP we were going to be at, we were within what percent and a half of one another, basically from the get go.
Yeah, I think we were very aligned when we were looking into some of those numbers together.
Yeah. And that right there made me feel great because I'm like, okay, well, we're actually probably thinking pretty correct here. And then you continue to call, another dealer and another dealer and another dealer. And, everyone has different percentages that they look at. Everyone has different prices that they look at. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to shoot the middle the best that we can. And I feel very confident that we did that. But like I said, I'm always interested in feedback, always trying to hear how we can do better. If we were within 1%, let's try to get within 0.5%. That's not always going to be doable, but hey, we can try.
Yep. So when you're so Kyle, let's walk through this a little bit. So a guy's coming in, you got a 1 year old deal or whatever it is you're working through. And you're stacking that up against what you see out in the marketplace. I always feel sorry for the first guy to put it out there, right? If you're the first one, out there, it seems like you're the bravest one, but you also get the most ridicule, I guess. So when you're looking at that 1 year old stuff, what's that thought process you have when you're going through that whole, how am I going to book this 1 year old machine that hasn't even been in the field yet?
Yeah, well, I definitely think it pays to be proactive in terms of just having inventory visible to your customer base.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the first 100%. One to have it advertised is either the gauge or the laughing stock. I mean, it just depends. And there's so many different takes on that these days. But when it comes to 1 year old equipment, I mean, when we take into consideration the shift in buying patterns we've seen from maybe one-off new pieces to more fleet rolls, it's definitely created a need to create more of a spread from new price to that 1 year old machine for it to make sense in the market.
For sure. Yeah. And I think that's the hard part. I always look at the guy that put the first one in there and they're set in the marketplace, right? We're kind of set where things are at. And then either most of the time people are going to be a few $1,000s less or in the same ballpark, plus or minus a $500 or $600 type of thing. I've seen that type of thing. One guy's at $249.9, another guy comes in at $248.5. You know what I mean? Something like that, or somewhere in that range. But as that progresses on throughout the time frame, you always see that now the first guy did it, 3 months down the road, he's now $15,000 higher than the one out there for the same thing. And typically it's not because they overshot the market. It was that they were guessing as much as everybody else was. Now you have someone out there that can pin it against that and then say, whoa, we've got, 60, 90 days worth of data that shows, hey, it should be X. And so I always feel sorry for the first guy out there. It's just, and I've been the first guy too on some stuff, and you're never right? Because you're guessing what the market's going to be. And then as more data shows up, you see more things, but then you just got to go back and adjust your price and those kind of things to make things move the way they.
Casey, you make a point there, talking about advertised values. Like the majority of the time, you can find a lot of consistency in advertised values. But Kyle, I mean, you talked about this as well, is that there is consistency, but there's also a lot of inconsistency in what
Sure.
advertised values are actually doing right now. I think that you have a lot of dealers that are staying, okay, so we need to stay within this realm, of advertising, but also too, I call it a fishing expedition, I guess you could say, is that we're putting, we're purposely going to put something out there that's, 10%, whatever, 12%, whatever, below of what everything else is advertising for, just to see if we can get any bites. And I mean, Kyle, have y'all been doing some stuff like that? And I mean, is it working?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely been trying to put our best step forward to gauge where the market's truly at. And I would say we're very happy with some of the movement we've seen. We'd always love to be selling faster, selling more. I don't think we'd ever say we're content with how fast we're selling, but definitely pleased with the optimism our sales team has, and just really where we've kind of pinpoint ourselves in the competitive market.
All right, so when you're looking at the marketplace and you see that thing out there, you always have to be testing the limits of what you can and can't do, right? Because you want to get as much for the piece of equipment that you can, but you also don't want to just hypothetically throw something out there that just says, "Hey, we did this on the front side, we have to do Y on the back side," right? There has to be a rhyme and a reason based around the market conditions that you see happening. And I feel like sometimes those parameters are, hey, we got this much money from the customer when we traded it in. So that means our cost in this machine's X, and that's what we're going to get. We have to our margin expectation. That doesn't mean anything, right? You have to understand where the market's at, and you have to plug in the numbers that are going to sell. Because I can ask whatever I want for something, right? There's no rule or law out there that says I can't ask $1 million for a piece of equipment when it's worth $250,000, right? But
Exactly.
you're never going to sell it either, right? So there is a dichotomy there that you have to follow along with that says, hey, if we're going to do X, we have to do Y, and based around the market conditions. And I think that's the expectation there. Now, all that being said, Kyle, you know this as well as anybody else does. What your dealership can offer you, the customer base, is also some of the premium that gets packed into the machine, right? Is it you're going to give some low interest waivers? You're going to give some, you got trade-ins that you're going to take in. You got all these things that come into play. You got the dealership standing behind the piece of equipment they sold you, all those kind of things that come into play here, right? And I think that is worth something, right? And I think, to me, that's why I have this, if you're looking at the equipment marketplace, you're going to get about 20% more than what the auction value is out there in a lot of cases. And that's kind of where that falls into. And in today's numbers, that 20% is a big number, right? So you start looking at where that falls into place. Kyle, talk about how you use the guide to take a look at where your current inventory is at, and how is that influencing what you're doing as far as any kind of repricing is going, or special spiffs and stuff like that you're doing for your customer base based around what you see in the guidebook?
Well, number one, we use the guidebook to really gauge the consistency of our inventory, right? I mean, we have an idea of where we want to stand relative to the rest of the market, and there's no doubt that when you're transacting thousands of pieces of equipment every year, you need a tool or a backstop to gauge whether or not you have any one-off pieces that are priced out of line, or any particular product categories that maybe you're not fit for the market on. And so we're definitely taking a look at the guide daily and really making tweaks monthly to ensure that we're not pricing ourselves outside of the market, either under or over the market, to put ourselves in the best possible position to move that iron efficiently.
Right.
So definitely taking consistent and frequent looks at the market, at ourselves, and basing those, or I shouldn't say basing, but comparing relative to the guide.
Right. So one thing I like about the guidebook, especially on the digital side of it, which I guess most of it's all digital anymore. Do you guys still print books, John?
We print our serial number books,
Okay.
but we actually we're actually doing a sunset project right now, to where we will not print a 2025 outdoor power equipment guide or iron search buyer's guide. We were still printing those two. But I'll say it again for everybody that's going to be listening. Iron Solutions will not be printing an outdoor power equipment guide or an Iron Search Buyer's Guide. However, we still have serial number books that will sell you. So anyone, if you want to go from an outdoor power equipment book to the electronic, please contact us. You can contact me. I'll send you to the correct sales rep. There's a lot more that we can offer you in an electronic guide than you can find inside of that book. That book is not a true representation of what we're trying to do. So anyways, sorry. I know you wasn't asking for an infomercial there, Casey, but I had to get that out.
Right.
Because producing books doesn't bother me one bit. It's just not a true representation of our data. There's no way that you can put all that data in a book.
Right. And one thing you can't do inside the book is also control the sliders as far as what percentage of the number that's presented there are you going to use. And I think a lot, especially in today's marketplace, looking at it from the floor plan value, right? Where are you going to give, 120% of the floor plan value, or are you going to give 80% of the floor plan value? As kind of a gauge to what your book value is going to look like. And more of that comes into play. I think that's one thing, especially on the digital side of that. Kyle, do you guys ever mess with any of those kind of things where you're looking at kind of the values based around what you see happen in your immediate area?
Oh yeah, definitely. Our local market is really where we thrive, and so we take a look at that. But obviously, as our business is growing, and I'm sure every dealer business is growing, you're really trying to take a macro look too at the industry and as a whole, and really kind of looking outside your local market.
Yeah. One thing I like about the digital side too that you don't get to see obviously in the book is you can look at multiple regions, right? And I think that's kind of the key factor there, because I'm a firm believer that a trend starts somewhere, right? And typically it starts east and moves its way west. But, as you're looking at those values and you start seeing a tick up in value, or a specific spec or something like that is moving around, and you're seeing more and more of it kind of pop up, that eventually it's going to make it to your area if it's not there already. And I think that's a really cool part about the digital book when you're looking through that.
And quite honestly, Casey, for a business like ours that spreads so far east to west in terms of where our physical locations are, it's great to be able to kind of break down individually to those areas, but also knowing that, we have a goal of shifting equipment and moving equipment, that we're building a strategy that fits in all those areas.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one thing too, like especially in your guys' case, you'll have a very heavy row crop area, like in your North and South Dakota stores, and you start looking at, we're in Minnesota and those kind of things, and you start moving west to Montana where there's more cattle and stuff like that. The difference in prices when you start looking at loader tractors. I mean, that's a big dynamic swing. When you look at what a loader tractor is worth in cattle country versus what it's worth in row crop country, there's a huge swing, but the demand signal is significantly higher in cattle country, obviously, than it is in row crop country. And that gives you that ability, that flexibility inside there to kind of see where those things are playing out.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that, we came out with our new, comps comparables tool inside of Iron Guides about a year ago, actually a little bit less than a year ago, and continue to try to, hone that in as much as we can. I could go on about that tool for days, but I'll, y'all have heard me talk about it, I don't know how many times, but how awesome it is and how we can get, 30,000 foot view or 3 foot view with the data in just a few clicks. But it's really allowed us to, you take a look at, like you're saying, Casey, from the east all the way over to the west. You can just go to there and just, take this region out, or add this one in, and as soon as you do that, the whole thing reconfigures for you. You can take a look at your retail data, your auction data, your advertised data. Another update that we have to share is inside of that tool, there is a ton more auction data in just probably about the past 3 weeks than what there has been. So we've made a lot of promises that we're going to upgrade that auction data. That's exactly what we did. So we fixed that data pipeline on our side, and we just added roughly 30,000 pieces of auction data just in the past 2 or 3 weeks. So continue to make that tool as good, as good as we possibly can. But, when we talk about where the guide is updated quarterly, that, those comps are updated every single day. So, every 24 hours, you can go in there and start to look at those cuts. And, from this side of the U.S. to this side of the U.S., what does this mean for motor tractors? Or, when you go from cattle country to where there's not a ton of cattle, or if you're a dealer that's right there on the Canadian border, what's that look like on both sides here? Because that's another discussion that's been happening. Things that are happening in the U.S. auctions, showing the downward trends that they're having. Dealers having to do basically everything that they can to get these things sold. Canada always kind of runs, their markets kind of run, 8 or 9 months behind of what the U.S. does, for obvious reasons. So that's been a lot of discussion, as well. So you can use that comp tool for that as well. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of things that you can do with that data.
For sure. And I think that's the flexibility of it is what I think really shows what's happening there. So, Kyle, any last thoughts you want to throw out there before we close down the podcast?
No, just, I think to John's point on the comps tool, it's been great for our sales team in the very limited time we've had access to it. It's just an all-in-one source, obviously available through Machine Finder Pro, which our salespeople are in every day. Having that tool integrated into a product that our sales team isn't having to go out and search or spend extra hours on data to find it has been super helpful for our team.
Right on.
And Kyle, when was that tool integrated?
The beginning of the month.
Exactly. So our comps tool, our comps data, was integrated into Machine Finder Pro 15 days ago. So if you're a deer dealer that's listening and you haven't looked at the comps tool, please please kick the tires on it. Let me know what you think. Feel free to reach out to me directly. And always looking for feedback. Just how we can get better. But yes, y'all heard me and Kyle both correctly. MF Pro has a brand new comps tool that is powered by Fusable, and it's the first look at it. We're gonna continue to add to it as we go.
Right on. Well, John, how do folks reach out to you to give that feedback?
Let's see. You can email me, John, Jon, last name Wommack, WOMMACK at Fusable, FUSABLE.com. And then we'll just, we'll start with an email. It will most likely end up with a phone call. You can, Kyle can attest to this. I can talk equipment with you all day long if you'll let me. So, but yeah, we'll go from there. We'll also be at Moving Iron this year, November 4th through 6th. We'll be there large and in charge, and we'll be leading general sessions as well as breakout sessions. So feel free to come, ask questions, come by the booth, talk to us. Come over, shake a hand, and we'll show you and give you as much information as you want.
Right on. Yeah, look for the Fusable booth there when you guys come to Moving Iron Summit. There'll be plenty of them there to check out and see and talk to. They'll have a full team there as well, so it'll be great.
Yep.
Kyle, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
Yeah, anyone that wants to reach out to me, I guess my email address is otoolek@cbequipment.com, and be happy to catch up with anyone. Love the opportunity to work with other dealers in the industry and hear from others on what their read on the market is. I think it's we definitely have competitors in the business, but at the end of the day, I think we all succeed when the industry succeeds. So always looking forward to networking and getting a chance to shoot ideas off other folks in the business.
Yeah, for sure. So Kyle, you went to the Moving Iron Summit last year. Talk a little bit about what you saw there.
Yeah. Last year was actually my first time going, especially helpful for me being in the new role. It was a great opportunity to network with other used equipment folks in the business and really hear some of the pain points and successes that others are experiencing. I would imagine this year in general, with just some of the headwinds we have in the ag industry, it's going to be great to hear some of the updates and some of the sessions. Looking forward to it.
For sure, man. We'll look forward to seeing you guys there and go from there. So, guys, appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you,
guys.
Right on. I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Check me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Well, X now. Can't stop saying Twitter. It's X. At Moving Iron LLC. Go to LinkedIn at the Moving Iron Podcast. Check out the video version of this over at the YouTube channel, which is the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel. And I guess we're done worrying about TikTok. I think they're still going to keep it around. They're not going to throw it away, but you can find us there at Moving Iron Podcast as well. You can go to movingironllc.com for everything Moving Iron related, plus all the information from the Moving Iron Summit will be up there for you to peruse at your leisure, I guess. So check that out. What else? I think this is the one of the cool things about this podcast is I get to talk to guys like this, and we get to talk about equipment. So I appreciate you guys being on. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Kyle and John. Let's move smart, folks. Out. Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately, target the right buyers and close more deals, reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusable isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusable.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. Find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. This podcast is proudly provided by Axon, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. Find out more at axontire.com. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron in the 21st century.